Welcome. What's up? Welcome to the Mixer. I am your host, RC. I am joined by my co-host here, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back.
Awesome. So we are the Mixer. We talk NFL and Formula One. We're in the midst of the first part of the Formula One season, so that's our primary focus. We are on social channels at FCY Mixer, and that's Twitter primarily. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all that good shit. Follow our YouTube channel. It's the Mixer channel on YouTube. If you go to our website, fcymixer.com, there's links in there. And podcasts on most podcatchers, iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, all that good stuff. That was smooth. I remembered my tilt that I couldn't remember like 2 weeks ago or whenever we last recorded. You'll never guess what it is.
Hit
I'll
me
give
with it.
you. Okay, so yeah, it result it. I'll get there. Glitch in the matrix. AI, artificial intelligence, has been on my mind lately, and so I just feel like we're getting to the point where everything can just be simulated, you know, and
Okay.
like, and I guess the thought that it made me go down that path was the war in Ukraine, and I'm like, wait a second, they have to have some high tech shit, so they're probably simulating every move, and then yeah, I mean, our boy Elon Musk uh, says that artificial intelligence poses a to greater threat to humanity than nuclear weapons or something like that. And then I was like, wait, the NFL draft, they're probably running simulations too. And so anyway, I went down that whole thought tree and still probably going down it. So is
There you
AI
go.
gonna destroy us, Jeff? Do you think? Has it
I mean,
already?
I think there's a possibility, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, like, I think a lot of it will just reflect who creates it and all that. So, it's just
Hmm.
very dependent on things that happen.
Hmm.
But I'm
Okay.
with you that I think simulations in general are being used in more places than people think.
Right. Yeah. I feel that as well. You tilting anything, my dude, or anything grand happening?
Uh, no tilts. Going camping this weekend. Excited for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have so many spots to like that you can just like pull up and camp. You don't even have to schedule it or anything. So we're gonna head out, take the dogs, and just chill out Friday, Saturday. So
Sounds like a
excited for that.
yeah. Sounds awesome. Love getting into the outdoors. So hope you enjoy yourself. Let's
Yeah.
talk.
Only
Go ahead.
I was gonna say only sad thing is we'll probably miss the actual race on Sunday. But got YouTube TV. They record everything, so I'll probably just watch it when we get back, kind of thing.
Hmm. There you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it, but it may not be the most exciting race. So we'll
Right.
you may not be missing much. Let's talk NFL first, though. We haven't really given our draft thoughts. Um, this was a draft where there wasn't the big name quarterback, so there wasn't too much hype. There was a lot of trades, so the I think the biggest news from it were the trades that happened, the trades that did not happen. We got like Jimmy G and Baker Mayfield saying put for the time being. We have AJ Brown going to the Eagles, and I feel like I'm missing another one. Marquise Brown to the Cardinals.
Hmm.
Am I missing any other big trades? I don't think I am.
Yeah, I don't think so off the top of my head.
And then I don't know. The draft picks kind of. I guess Kenny Pickett being the first quarterback off the board to the Steelers when everybody kind of was penciling in Malik, what's Willis, right? Why am
Yeah.
I why am I spacing? It's only been like 2 weeks since the NFL draft, and I'm already forgetting these prospects' names. So not, yeah, I mean, not the hugest, craziest draft, but I mean, we are seeing more trades of NFL players, probably because of all the freaking algorithms and simulations they're running and
Yeah.
optimizing their roster moves. But it was still enjoyable. I thought, I guess my main takeaway from the NFL draft, I mean, it was in Vegas and they had it in like the saddest like side parking lot in Vegas. And I mean, there's actually a lot of sad parking lots in places in Vegas, but like the NFL, I thought they were going to do the stage in the fountain. Like what happened to that?
Yeah, I'm assuming they couldn't get clearance or something like that. Like that would have been cool, but yeah, they kind of just did it in what felt like a back alley type thing.
Yeah, where was it even? I couldn't even, I mean, like I'm not a Vegas. I don't go to Vegas every month, but usually I'm there like I would say on average at least once a year, if not twice a year. And I mean, I've been up and down the strip. Yeah, that was like one of those lots where you hop in a cab and they're whizzing around the freaking back lots of the casinos to get you to where you need to go. And it's like I didn't even know these roads existed. Um, so yeah, man, it wasn't the convention center. It seemed like it was mid strip on the east side of it, and yeah, I don't know. The parking
Yeah,
lot of
I don't.
sadness.
It was
Oh,
it was
I think
rough.
it was actually back behind where the Ferris wheel is, like the link.
Oh,
I thought I remember seeing that like there's a mall right there, and then maybe at the end of the mall there was a parking lot, but they didn't even have any Ferris wheel shots, like the camera angle. Anyway, like NFL, like what the hell? You had like 3 years to get this ready, and that's what we come up with. Okay,
yeah. I mean, they probably could have used the T-Mobile Center and just sold tickets for that, and then had the players down in the pit like it was a concert type thing. That would have been
for
cool.
for
But
real. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many venues there. Like, or the freaking parking lot of the Raiders stadium. Like,
yeah,
what? What? I don't know, man. Oh, and then the freaking pandering. I'm getting tired of it. It's so I mean it's so transparent. They're like, okay, what was it? They had like the vets come up, of course. They had
hmm
a black woman, I believe, do the national anthem. Um oh, they I think they had didn't they have like some representative from the gay community? Um which I mean I'm glad that they're making an effort, but the way that it's stacked, like at the start, just to get it out of the way, it just comes
yeah.
off as fake. You know,
I kind of see that. Like
it's
it's one of those
it's
things where like you're happy to see it because like cool, like people are getting representation, but at the same time it's like you're just throwing them all back to back to back, and
yeah, right at the
it
start,
doesn't.
and you're like, all right, let's get this out of the way.
Yeah, it feels forced.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, starting your workday with like the shitty parts of your work just to get it done, and then you just half-ass it because you're like, all right, let's get into the anyway. Like, I mean, what can we say? We love the NFL, but goddamn, it's just you can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, oh, and then that kid that did the announced the pick. I can't remember which team it was the Vikings, and they're like, oh, this kid had a freaking heart transplant or something, and he's up there like jacked, like I mean, super hyped, like he just had a Red Bull. I'm like, this kid's gonna die, like, and everybody's like cheering, getting him riled up. I'm like, dude, we need to tone this down. Like,
No,
let's not.
they're just showing that he's as healthy as he can be right now. That's
I
all.
guess they put in the freaking Toyota Corolla of hearts in his chest. I guess. Like, I was worried that this is some freaking. I mean, the healthcare system in the U.S. Um, yeah, I guess the kids probably get like the top shelf organs. So, I mean, he was just like max revs on that. Yeah, it's like a Red Bull engine in that kid's chest, and I was just freaking worried. So yeah, um, excellent analysis. You can only get here where we just talk about all the shenanigans surrounding the event rather than the actual draft picks because who the fuck knows, right? Tom Brady was
Exactly.
what was it, the 6th round, 7th round pick? They always freaking talk about that. I
Yeah.
should
The
know.
draft is a lottery. That's all it is.
Hmm.
Some teams are a
But
little bit better than others, but it's pretty random.
yeah, and yeah, there just wasn't the big names on offense that people care about. So,
Right.
but it's always a fun watch. I kind of did you like the old format where it was just like all day Saturday, all day Sunday, 15 minutes on the clock, and it takes like freaking 20 hours between the 2 days.
No, I like the new format. Give me the rounds that I care about on their own, and then the rest of it can just kind of go wherever, right? Like round one being by itself is cool. Then rounds two and three on Friday, perfect. And then the rest of it just kind of you could auto draft that. I don't even care about that.
Yeah, there's a part of me that misses the old format, but that's probably just one of those things where I don't know. You remember the good. You only remember the good about it, and I just remember like being at home those like both those days and just like having it on the background and like doing shit and
Yeah,
anyway now you have to like actually actively watch, especially the first 2 days, which yeah, I mean it's fine. It's
well,
fine, I guess, but there were good elements to the old format, I think.
oh yeah, there definitely were. I also think, at least for me, like Twitter has kind of ruined the draft. All drafts, to be honest, because
Yeah,
like,
people tweet out spoilers because they have access to whatever program the teams use or they have some source.
yeah,
Um,
and so like, and then you get to like the round one usually isn't terrible, but like you get to the like third round, and then especially on Saturday where you got like 4, 5, 6, and the TV's like 5, 6, 7 picks behind, and you go on
mhm,
Twitter and you can see every pick that's been made. It's like I don't need to watch this. I can just follow it here if I really care.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, I just think that the production of it is I understand what they're trying to do. Like they're maximizing their airtime, they're trying to do this and that, but like we're here for the draft picks. Like when you get a draft pick, like the least you could do is keep up. It kind of I don't know. That's just kind of my view on it. Like when I can get my information on Twitter like half an hour before you show me the pick, I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also feel like the broadcast teams usually leave something to be desired. Um
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
I
I
think
guess ESPN's been okay, which is saying something, but
I
um
actually think they should get the college football guys, like all of them, from
mhm,
like the regional guys on the show, and then when like a guy is picked, like uh, let's say Aiden Hutchinson at number two, right? Like
mhm,
not you don't really have to say a lot about a guy like that. Like he was kind of the consensus top pick for most of draft season,
uh-huh.
but then you get like the Big Ten announcers to talk about him, right? The guys that watched him play all the time instead of
Yeah.
these generic like Desmond Howard who,
Booger.
yeah, like these guys that, and don't get me wrong, like, I love Desmond Howard, but like these guys that are NFL focused or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
or they're more focused on like the bigger college games. They don't watch tape on a lot of these guys,
Yeah.
and it just seems there's a lot of generic praise given to or feedback given to draft picks, and like I think if you just had all the regional guys ready, and like when a guy gets picked from their region, you just shoot it over to them and let them talk about him. You know?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but Booger within the span of like 2 or 3 minutes completely contradicted himself, which I mean he usually does, but um he said something like one team was going for like a defensive line or something, and he's like, and to me that's the most important thing, winning in the trenches. That's how you get it done in the NFL. And then like another team picked like a wide receiver or something, and he's like, and it basically said the same line. He's like, and to me,
Yeah.
that's how you win football. So it's like, all right, man, what are we? All right, whatever, Not like we don't have our own freaking tropes and kind of fallback analysis that
Right.
we lean on. However, we're not getting freaking 6 to 7 figure contracts at ESPN. They just need to get Mina Kimes to do everything. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I would abandon my daughter to live a life with Mina Kimes, even if it was platonic. But I'm saying the thought has at least entered my mind on like what I'd be willing to give up. I think that's where I draw the line. But yeah. Anyway, big fan. Not creepy at all. Let's move on. Formula One. Did we cover the Grand Prix in Miami? We haven't, have we? How dare
No.
we? Verstappen won. Mick Schumacher crashed. Bless his heart. And the main thing that happened in the race basically was the tires weren't wearing out. There were some drivers who started on the hards at the back and through strategy were able to conveniently place themselves ahead of other cars who started on mediums, then switched to hards and kind of spoil their strategy. There was a crash towards the end of the race. I feel like we're getting the almost like the competition caution and getting like 10 lap sprints to the end. I can't remember who it was that
Well,
crashed. It was Lando into
Pierre.
Pierre Trashley. That's who
Yeah.
it was. So that's what happened. We had a brief battle between Leclerc and Verstappen, which is always good to see. And Leclerc just didn't have the top end speed that the Red Bull had all weekend. Could not make the pass stick. Carlos Sainz kind of threw away Ferrari's chance of winning the race by letting Verstappen get by him in the first corner. He was then able to challenge Leclerc early in the race and then control it. Whereas if Sainz could have maybe held him back for a bit, the outcome could have been different. But
Yeah.
Red Bull looks like the better car. Um, Sainz finished the race. Ferrari got second and third. Verstappen won. Perez fourth. Fucking George Russell spoiled a ticket or two of mine by finishing fifth. Hamilton sixth, I believe, and
Yeah.
that's where my memory runs out. I
I
loved
think
the
it was
race.
Valtteri seventh.
Yeah, Jeff, what did you think of the race?
I mean the race was decent. Like it was, I don't know, kind of just a race to me. Like I'd say middle of the pack. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. Max clearly had an advantage in the first stint on the mediums. I think it was. Um, when Red Bull and Ferrari were on the mediums, Max. I mean, Charles had a lockup and had a mess up, but I think he got it out to like 7 seconds at one point. When they got back to uh, on the hards, it was pretty much even though, looking at the lap times. So uh, obviously there's a lot of things that go into setups, but clearly the Red Bull was better on mediums on race day. George George Russell playing he seems to be much more open than Lewis, at least like from what we can see in terms of like strategy. Like I know on the radio, they got to, I think it was lap 30 or something, and they did the radio with Russell and his engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and Russell was like, "Look, if the tires are fine, let's stay out because maybe a safety car comes and you know we can capitalize, right?" And his engineer was fine with that. Uh,
And it
I
worked
thought it was
out.
interesting. Yeah, and
They
it worked out,
they got
right?
the safety car.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of seems like at this point, like we're 5 races in, right? 4 or 5 races in, and it really feels like there's going to be a safety car in every race. It just depends on when. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't had it yet, it's probably fine to bet on there being one. That's just my view on it so far. I thought it was interesting. I know Perez lost a sensor, and they said it cost him a decent amount of time per lap. And I know Perez after the race said he thought Red Bull could have had a 1-2, and I know Horner said like he thought Perez could have moved up. Even before that, at no point did I think Perez was passing Sainz. That was just me watching the race, right? Like I'm not looking at everything they have and all that, but like I was actually kind of surprised to hear a lot of that from them. Like I know as a team, like you're gonna like hype your guy up and this and that, but like he was consistently 1.5 to 2.5 seconds behind Sainz the whole time. Like he never really threatened him. Like I don't know where that thought process was coming from. Um, maybe I don't know. But
I have some
uh,
thoughts.
yeah, I mean, just the rest of it. I think Mick and Sebastian got into it. Mick got a little over aggressive, right? Um, and yeah, I think that was a familiarity mistake. I don't know if Mick tries that on someone that's not Sebastian. Um, and then yeah, other than that, like the Gasly and Lando thing was weird. Um, Pierre like kind of pulls off the track and then pulls back on it, and we don't really get to see Lando's view of that, but from the announcers, they kept saying it was kind of a blind corner, so he may not have necessarily seen Gasly until they collided, kind of thing, or like right before. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of sucked because it ruined Lando. I think was on pace to have like 8th or something like that, and then ends up obviously not finishing and all that. But yeah, I mean overall decent race. Nothing crazy going on though, to me at least.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad you touched on some of those things because I forgot. Hopefully, in my response here, I don't forget. But I did want to talk about the Hamilton and George Russell and how one driver seems to be in simpatico with the race strategy, and Hamilton on the other hand does not. So I mean, some of it is just the 7-year itch, where Hamilton is probably just getting a little tired of seeing the same faces, hearing the same things every day. So he doesn't want to be involved with the strategy. Like he doesn't want to have that responsibility. And to be honest, like I don't know, the strategy has never been the strong point of the Mercedes team. So I think Toto does his best work in freaking boardrooms. I don't think he should be on the pit wall. Other teams have kind of designated race strategist doing them, playing that role. And so I know Toto, he must enjoy having his face on the broadcast so much. It is a beautiful, lovely, strong jawline of a face. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe get somebody else to do that part. And then Hamilton, he for being a 7-time world champion, where it could be 8, could be 9 easily. Possibly the best driver of all time. Uh he's not he's kind of like a passive dude. He's always been that way. So like that's just not in his personality to take control like that.
Yeah.
Um, which I mean, the dude's a good driver, for for fucking sure. But anyway, George Russell, he's still kind of finding himself, and you know, and he just happened to be in a position where he could try that too. So some of it's luck, some of it is George Russell's hungry, and more willing to take chances. So, um,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
yeah,
I also,
that's just how I see that situation.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think, they're obviously on the same team this year, but their careers are so different at this point. Like George has been 18th, 19th, 20th his whole career. So I think a lot of it for him is, what do I have to lose, right? Like, whereas for Lewis, it's like he's been first, second all the time.
Hmm.
And I think it's just, I don't think Lewis has to relearn how to drive or anything like that. But you even see it at the start sometimes. He kind of got in a tough position. Perez hit the brakes real hard, and Lewis kind of hit the brakes and lost a few spots. But we've seen a couple times where he's just he's always been more cautious, I think, because to him, like, he's had the better car, he's going to finish in first anyway. And this year, that's not the case. I think he needs to be a little more aggressive. And as you said, he seems a little passive at times, and he's not. I think he might. I doubt he's still in the same mindset as, like, oh, I'm just going to end up in first, but like he doesn't have that same, like, I'm not finishing last kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I do think their mindsets explains a lot between the two Mercedes guys.
Yeah, and I don't know what Lewis's contract is like, but I mean, he was openly flirting with Ferrari the first two races, and then Ferrari kind of locked in signs. There's a part of me that thinks that there might be a sneaky exit from Mercedes, and they'll just continue to be an engine supplier for McLaren, and the McLaren will, kind of return to prominence. Because I mean, me thinks that this whole Porsche Audi thing, if it's really going to happen, is really going to shake up the balance. Because I mean, a name like Porsche doesn't come in to run middle of the pack, and maybe Audi does, but I think not. So a lot is up in the air. There's probably a lot going on behind the scenes, influencing things, and Russell's just got the hunger there. You also mentioned Red Bull and how the team thought they might have been in line for a 1-2, and then you mentioned the issue with Sergio's sensor. To me, when Sergio reacted the way he did, about losing power, that that signals to me that Red Bull is still afraid of their engine reliability, or at least their drivers are, and that there's more to it than letting on. However, I feel like with the high temps in Miami, that this would have been the race where that issue would have persisted if it really was such an issue. So I don't know if Perez's um, Perez's reaction was just kind of PTSD from the engine troubles they had at the start of the year, and how much of it is like still a legitimate concern. When 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 Leclerc was challenging Verstappen at the end, there was a report, I can't remember which great guy, maybe it's Karun Shandok, said that he was listening into the radio and Max was given more power. So they had that engine wound down. My suspicion is because of all their retirements they've had in the first few races. Red Bull is making sure their cars get to the end and banking some points. So although Sergio probably had more pace in the car, they probably had his engine wound down. And then on top of that, Perez I believe mirrored Sainz's strategy for the pits, and we saw some other guys run longer on the medium tires. So, there could have been the opportunity there for Perez to get around um, Sainz in the pits, and even Leclerc if Red Bull would have been more aggressive with their strategy. So I think they were just trying to lock up the points and uh and get both cars to finish
Yeah.
for the first time this season. No, that can't be right. I feel like it might
No,
be.
they did last race too, right?
No, well, last race was in Miami. Before that, yeah, I can't remember. Was it the 1-2? Yeah, they got a 1-2. That's right. So
Yeah.
now they've finished the last two races both cars have finished. So, yeah, I mean title fights on, and um we'll talk about the Red Bull Ferrari spending issue that they're going on to. But before I forget, I did want to get out my obligatory trashing of Mick Schumacher. um so I forget he's good at street circuits, so we'll see how he does in Monaco in a few weeks. um but yeah, I mean, he got aggressive with Vettel. I mean, the first time I saw that incident, I thought, like, Mick, what are you doing? And then the second
Yeah.
time I watched it, I was like, well, I kind of saw it both ways. However, when you're about to score your first points, don't get greedy. You know,
Yeah.
you really could have brought that home, Mick. So, I yeah, I mean, he just, and then the way he on the radio, he just sounded so distraught. I mean, it sounded like he was crying, um,
Yeah.
which is just really sad because to me that's more evidence that he's like doubting himself. So, um, I don't know. He needs to get his head right, and I think he needs to build up that foundation more. Again, I think he should go into, at this point, a name like that, you can't drop into F2. So I don't know what what the answer is for Mick, but I hope he figures it out. Bottas started fourth, finished seventh. I have a theory on Bottas why he's good on Saturdays, not so great on Sundays.
Go for it.
He's he's too bulky. He's got the wrong body type. I think he's I think he's naturally like a stocky guy, and these drivers they have to cut weight, like freaking jockeys, and I think he just gets fatigued, and he can't handle it. He's able to muscle the car around for 3 lap hot laps, but over the course of the race, he just fades because his body he's built different. Bottas is built different, so um,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, that's my thought on him. I feel like there's one other thing you brought up that I am forgetting. Pierre Gasly had an incident with somebody. Maybe it was Alonso. I think Alonso got penalized the lap before. I think Gasly had maybe he was losing pressure in his tires. That's why he ran wide, and then that caused the incident with Lando. So yeah, that's the
Oh
Miami
yeah,
Grand Prix.
that was funny when they asked Gasly about the incident with Lando afterwards, and he said, "Well, how about we go back to Fernando fucking me or something like that."
Oh, Gasly. I know I'm forgetting something. We need to do these sooner after the race so I remember, but that's on me. The latest thing in the news is Ferrari is petitioning, or I don't know what exactly it is. They're raising the issue that Red Bull is not sticking to the salary cap, or
Right.
like saying how are they've like done substantial updates to their vehicle. Like,
Hmm.
can we make sure that this is within the parameters that you set? Because Like, if you're saying this is cool, we're going to do the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, we've seen that before. I think it's super tough to enforce these restrictions, but I mean, do you think Red Bull winds down because of it? Do you think the FIA does anything here? What would you do if you're
Um.
the FIA director? You just say, "All right, boys, like, just battle it out. We'll pretend that we'll let you drop the zeros on your account books or whatever."
Well, I think that I don't think you can just do that. I think there is a little bit of a precedent if Ferrari can show that Red Bull is going over the limit, let's say, or close. Uh, I think Ferrari is being so cautious here because of their history of getting in trouble. Um, what was it, like 2019 or whatever, when they got in trouble with the engine or something, or 2018, 2017,
I
and
don't
they had to
recall.
like nerf their engine or something like that. Um, I think they're hesitant because that's fairly recent. Um, and we've seen, it feels like Red Bull has brought a pretty big upgrade to every race so far. And I don't know when the budget cap started. I'm assuming it started either Bahrain or Spanish, like Spain time. But I don't really know. And if the one thing I would trust though is that these teams know how much parts cost and how much effort goes into making certain things. If Ferrari thinks Red Bull is close to a budget cap, while I think they might be playing the game a little bit, I would venture to be on the Ferrari side more than the Red Bull side of Red Bull saying they've only spent 17% of the budget this year.
Yeah.
Um, because like they all pay the same amount for parts roughly, right? Like everything has to be like, you know,
In this
uh,
economy, do you know how much carbon is in this economy?
there's that too, right? And so, I think for me, while I think Ferrari might be focusing on the wrong things, I think they should focus on upgrading their car. I'm kind of with you. I think they're trying to get the okay from the FIA to just say like spend whatever you want. I think this could backfire because if the FIA says, we're probably never going to hear anything, but like if
Uh,
the FIA is like Red Bull's not breaking any rules, well, there's a third team here that may just need to spend a little more money to figure some things out.
mm-hmm.
And if, let's say, like, the FIA says Red Bull's not breaking any rules, what if Mercedes starts bringing upgrades to every race? Like, they could get back in this pretty quickly because
Mm-hmm.
they're not, like, I mean, they're a second off per lap. But in terms of like points wise, if they can figure it out, they're not that far away. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So I think this could really backfire for Ferrari, and I don't see the huge benefit per se. Does that
Well,
make sense?
yeah, I mean, Ferrari can. I think in the official interview or story about it, the the team principal, I can't remember his name.
Mattia?
But he said Ferraris had to hold back on developing their car, not for lack of the ability to do so, but in order to stay within the parameters that have been set. So they're basically, I mean, to me, they're just calling it out. So either they're saying, Red Bull's gonna have issues here, and coming up, we want to make sure that we're having real numbers,
Right.
and what they want a formal explanation or interpretation by the FIA, to their understanding of how Red Bull
Able
is
to do this.
using. Yeah, yeah, and basically they'll react from there. And I mean, like you said, Mercedes could come back into the foray, which I mean they could anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. Yeah, and with the upgrades coming to the Spanish Grand Prix, it should be, I guess we'll see how things shake out. I was looking at the calendar. I thought usually this is the mark of the start of the European season, but there's still some flyaway races, and the European season looks like it'll start later. But I'm excited to see what Ferrari has in store for their upgrades this weekend.
Yeah, me too. There's supposed to be some big upgrades. Like Mercedes is doing something. Ferrari's got some upgrades. McLaren has something that I read. Someone pegged at like getting them half a second or something like that. Aston Martin's got Lance Stroll's getting a whole new like chassis or whatever. They're like B spec at Aston Martin. Apparently Vettel's not getting it this week. But yeah, should see a lot of changes. I was a little disappointed though. I saw Haas is not really doing many upgrades, and they're bringing like their only major upgrade is going to be in July sometime. That was a little disappointing as the only American team. I do kind of hope for them to do well, even though I don't really have much of a connection to them. But yeah, I mean, this weekend should be interesting. It's also the site of the first test, so some comparisons will probably be made between cars, even though it's not an exact comparison.
I hope this track races better with these cars. It usually doesn't, but we'll see. It'll be fun. It's Formula One race. All Formula One races are better than they have been. I listened to another podcast, not nearly as entertaining as us, and they were talking about the Valencia Grand Prix, which the Zoomers will never remember. It was like the only race ever in Formula One where there wasn't kind of external factors like being at Monaco where passing's impossible, or other like regulatory issues where there was no passes. There was 0 passes. A full Formula One race.
Jeez.
No passes.
Wow.
Yeah. So gone are those days. Now we get upset if there's only 30. Which, I mean, what a time to be alive. Yeah, I mean, do you have any other thoughts on things, Jeff, before we skedaddle?
Really. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, just briefly, Lamborghini announced they're going to be doing a prototype. It's going to be Lamborghini competing against Ferrari for maybe the first time ever in the top class of a race series. So I'm super excited for that. Spa, just the track at Spa just had its first race after all its upgrades. Looks like it's going to be even more challenging. So yeah, those were the other 2 race related things on my mind. And Colton Herta's a boss, and he's going to get Kevin Magnussen's seat sooner rather than later. Let's get out of here. All right. Thank you for watching. Until let's get some PF Chang's. Number 1.
Always.
Number 2, toodaloo!